Hey guys, welcome to the Winning Wimbledon show. Mark and I are super excited today because we've got a very special guest, Fernando Segal, who is a world-class development coach and is the founder and the creator of the World Tennis Conference, which is really a collection of the greatest coaches on the tour right now. And Fernando, I'm excited because you're usually the one doing the interviews, so you get to share your wisdom with us today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ramon, for the invitation as well. Like Mark, it's a privilege to share time and insights about what we love. It's to develop our sport.
And we love tennis so much. And so I know there's an audience right now watching, and they're in their 50s and 60s, Fernando. And so these people aren't necessarily on the court 3 hours a day. You know, they don't have a full-time physio. They've got families and kids and responsibilities. And I just want to know from your perspective, from all of the amazing people that you're connected with, if you were building some sort of training program for sort of the average amateur tennis player, what are the sort of common elements that you would focus on that maybe our listeners can start to piece together?
Very good question, Roman. I think there are many things to talk, but anyway, there are a couple which, from my point of view, are very important. One of those is to understand what kind of game we have, because it's very important to understand some particularities about our sport. And the main aspect to remark about that is how you have to be adaptable, to resolve any situation all the time, even different opponent, different weather, different surface, different situation, even different mood, because probably yesterday you were incredible, happy and celebrating life, and today nothing is working, And I think one of the key aspects when you are playing tennis, we used to say that you are a champion of the middle. Nothing is too bad, nothing is too good. You have to be adaptable all the time and to deal with the triumph, like in the Wimbledon, Rudyard Kipling, phrase in the entrance of the central court is the phrase of Kipling talking about if you are able to deal with the two impostors, the defeat and the triumph, you are ready to go. That's the main thing, to be adaptable. And the second one, from my point of view, is to learn to have the right mindset. If you prepare your tools to compete, it doesn't care the situation. You have to work with your mindset because it's the same for business. You're gonna deal with a business, and you have to prepare yourself for that meeting, the kind of people you're gonna meet, these kind of things. You are preparing yourself. When you are preparing yourself, you are creating your mindset of tools that you're gonna use, and that is very important because to understand that the mindset concept is very important to be competitive. I think is the second recommendation I can say to everyone.
Great.
Outstanding. I particularly love the part about staying in the middle, and the imposter thing with Rudyard Kipling is such a powerful concept. And I think it's something we can all work on because we do go through ups and downs in a tennis match. And it's our ability to sort of reset to a baseline level that is so important. Thank you for that, Fernando. Mark, over to you.
Yeah, great. I'll dig deeper into mindset. And when we throw it back to you, it might be worth digging into how do you train being adaptable. As Fernando, great welcome. It's been a while since we've spoken, largely because I couldn't speak. For those watching, Fernando was one of my mentors when we started off with Between the White Lines Summit and then the Winning Summit, and introduced me kindly as a nobody in the world of tennis to some great people who then spoke. And since then, he's kicked on and is now modestly one of the influencers in the world of tennis, I would suggest. So, Fernando, thanks for your time, man. I really, really appreciate you turning up.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mark, and congratulations for how you overcome all the situation, and you show us that you are a warrior. Not only a tennis warrior. You are a warrior in life, which is a very
Thank
important
you.
thing.
This is a question about mindset and digging deeper into it. Like, how do you train belief or belonging, things like that? So the context is I still have an army non-commissioned officer as a client, and he has kicked on amazingly to be nationally ranked, etc. But when it came to the Army Championships and playing Army officers, and he was a non-commissioned officer, he couldn't get through the hurdle. He kept losing to people he should win, apart from this year when he blitzed everything. And he confessed that he was in awe of these officers and respected them, therefore shouldn't dish out punishment. A little bit about Liam Brody against Ruud Kasper, that he was like 138 ranking points below, obviously playing at home with all the hype and emotion of the English, playing on the centre court with royalty, protocol and a global audience. And I thought the impressive thing was not getting to the line, but crossing the line without self-sabotaging him. So this is all mindset. Could you unpick mindset in those two circumstances and how people can train it?
Yeah, definitely. One of the kids talking about the match of Liam Brody against Ruud. It's a very good match to watch in terms how. That's why I say people have to understand some specific particularities of our game. One of the key aspects, from my point of view, is in tennis you don't have time. You know when you're gonna start, but know when you're gonna end. If you see the match of Liam yesterday, he was able to play a long period of time with high concentration, have high emotional stability, and high commitment during all the match. Because sometimes, even during the match, you can have ups and downs. But the problem sometimes with the players and recreational players is depending too much about the result of one stroke or 1 point, to go up or to go down. And that's why if you see what there are, I call it the 4C. The 4C is when you have commitment, control, emotional control, concentration, and confidence. When you have confidence, you are able to commit yourself all the time. That's why it's important to keep working with the players, and that's why I prefer to have short period of time with amateur players, putting the best effort possible when they are playing, rather to depend on the strokes or depend on the result. Because Mark, like Ramon, competitive tennis at any level, it doesn't care which is your level. Tennis is about competition. It's about how you compete. The guy who gonna win the match is who is winning the last 2 points. It's not about if you hit the forehand in the right way in the first set, and you did a couple of drop shots, wonderful drop shots in the second set. It's all about who's gonna win the last 2 points. And that's why sometimes you can hit the ball like that, sending moonballs. But my point is, that's why we need to train people that understand which kind of game we have. And the key aspects is how you learn to compete, no short times, all the time. If it's in short time, you have to be, that's why the other day Nadal was saying, I prefer a player which is training 20 minutes with high intensity, rather a kid which is 2 hours in an academy, wasting time. Because tennis is about mental, emotional, physical intensity. And the same happened with the amateurs. The difference with the amateurs that you have time in the middle that you can speak, you can share ideas, you can joke, with your friends, whatever. But immediately when you step in on the court to play, if you are competing, you have to create your focus, your mindset to be able to be adaptable and resolve the situation. And that's, I think, Leon Smith did. He didn't care about the ranking, big difference in the ranking, big difference about results, big difference about the maturity to play in a high level. He was able to, to encapsulate all those situations and play his best tennis.
Fernando, this is amazing. I know people are having all many light bulb moments going off. If you guys are watching this live and you have any questions for Fernando while we're here, feel free to put them in the comments. We'd be happy to answer them. And if you're watching this on a replay, feel free to leave your questions down below and we'll make sure to get to them. Fernando, you mentioned something about staying sort of even keel and this razor's edge of having this intense desire to play your best tennis with a detachment from the outcome. And I was just wondering about your thoughts about this, because a lot of coaches talk about, don't get too focused on the results, but clearly everybody is playing because they want to win. How can we begin to embody that sort of even keel that you're talking about? How does someone do that?
I think, well, that's another way that like Mark understand perfectly, and you have to be trained on that. Of course, at the beginning, and also when you are not having a systematic way to develop your mind, it's normal that you are paying attention, different strokes, different points, what I did, and to stay in the past, and that's another thing which is very important to understand how tennis works. Tennis is a mathematical progression. You are hitting strokes to win points. If you win at least 4 points, you're gonna win one game. If you are winning 6 games, you're gonna win a set. And you are winning 2 sets, you're gonna win the match. And a draw of 32 players, if you are winning 5 matches, you're gonna be the champion. But everything is starting with the first strokes, which is a progression. That's why consistency is the first tactical concept of tennis. Put the ball on the court. That's why Rod Laver probably nobody's talking about the past when people are talking about who is the GOAT. But Rod Laver won 2 times the Grand Slam, which means to win the 4 Grand Slam in the same year. And he did it twice, And the key phrase of Rod Laver was, when I have no choice to hit the right ball, I put the ball on court. And I have 2 choices, to play it again or the opponent is missing the point. But to have those 2 choices, I have to put the ball on the other side. Very simple thought, which was one of the key aspects of the racket. And used to say, people used to say to him, rocket. But my point was, a simple concept was, applied for a top player, saying, I have the choice or I have not the choice. If I have the choice, I can hit harder, with more angle, more spin, whatever. But if I have not the ball, I have not the choice, put the ball and play. You are passing the responsibility to the other one, and you have 2 choices, to play it again, or sometimes the opponent is missing the point. How many times, Ramon, Mark, we know people are going to the net and having an easy volley and missing the volley, sending the ball out. If you are in defense and your main concept, that's not our concept. The main concept is put the ball on court.
This reminds me of I was at Rafa Nadal's academy and got to interview Tony Nadal, who I know you've had the privilege of interviewing. And I asked him, what is your philosophy when it comes to playing tennis? And he said, hit every ball as well as you can, try to hit the ball in, and try not to hit the ball out. And that was brilliant. Brilliant. Mark,
Because,
over to you.
because
Sorry, Fernando.
one little comment about it. If you remember the statistics about the last 10 years, Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, they won between 54 and 55 points for every 100 points. It means only the 54, 55% of the points that they are playing. It means you need a little bit more than the half percent of the point that you're going to play in the match. They are not winning all the points. They are winning only in a small percentage, which means that I used to say to the players, if you are collecting oranges, you have to be able, to manage to pick up 54, 55 oranges and let the other 45 for the others. But you're going to win the point. Why? The match. Why? Because tennis is a mathematical progression. It's about how you collect points. It's not about forehands and backhand. Forehands and backhand are tools, okay? That's why tennis coach has to be not like mechanics. The mechanics teach tools. A very good coach is a tactical mind, which is teaching you how to use the tools to pick up points, to pick up oranges. Okay.
It's so fascinating because I know our audience is obsessed with technique and development, and not to discount that because it's crucial to be able to execute the tactics that you talk about. But I think everybody finally it just sunk in for them. So thank you for clarifying that, Fernando. Mark, over to you.
You're so good. I love speaking to you and listening to you, Fernando. I wished you were my coach when I was growing up. You mentioned something that is Ramon and my passion, which is the second week of Wimbledon. So the first week, by and large, the matches are reasonably close, but they're not close. As we go into the second week, the matches become equal, pressure-packed, tension-filled, and the person that wins 2 more points. And it might be close, and it might be like Alcaraz at Queen's last week and Djokovic every time he plays. It's close. Everything's all on the line. Djokovic wins 2 more points than his opponent. How can amateurs, regardless of age and ability, at their peer group level, train to also win 2 more points when everything's on the line?
I think. Well, pressure is the name of the game. Even playing for first time in Wimbledon, you're gonna feel pressure because because it's a mathematical progression. Mark, we discussed many times with you and Ramon too. There are not too many professions in the world where behind your name is a number. Only golf and tennis. Behind you have a ranking. You don't have a ranking of engineers, architects, lawyers. It's subjective. Who is better? Who is best one to other one? It's a very subjective concept. But in terms of tennis, it's a very cold number. You are the 145 player in the world, and you have such number of points. That's why I think one of the key aspects of our sport it's teaching you all the time how to deal pressure. From my point of view, the more important to deal pressure is when you are not able to be focused all the time, a long period of time, you have to choose when you put your concentration. That's why I say, on the fence, put the ball and play. You don't get it, put the ball and play. If you have the chance to put more spicy stroke, let's say more pepper, more salt, and more angle, more spin, do it. But choose the strokes when you have the choice to do it. If you don't have the choice, your pressure is to put the ball on court. Okay? If you put the ball on court and the other one is doing a drop shot, incredible volley, whatever. But it's not your fault. It's the ability of your opponent to resolve the situation. But most of the cases, you're gonna win many points because even your opponent is having the same pressure that you are having. Okay? The second concept, which is from my point of view very important, is to try to close the games, training yourself to put more focus on how to close. Because people sometimes is very focused on how we start the game, but when we are very old,
Yes.
close. And also in the matches. That's why sometimes for amateurs, you are having a match 5-all in the third, and suddenly someone is doing boom, 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 7-5, which is Djokovic. Djokovic is able to have good decisions and a high level of pressure in that moment. Why? Of course, experience, a lot of top matches. Remember, Djokovic lost 10 different Grand Slam finals, and he learned a lot about that situation, because he's an open mind player. But my point is, for amateur players, focus on close the games, close the match, even if you don't have. And another thing which is very important for amateurs, and which is for everyone, but anyway, for amateurs, on court, Mark, Ramon, you are your own coach. You can have the best coach. You can have Jules Servara, Goran Ivanisevic, Tony Nadal on the bench, but on court, you are your own coach. The way that you are talking to yourself is the way that you are, building your destiny. That's why it's very important, positive self-talking. That's why choose how you're gonna talk to yourself, which kind of words you're gonna use to remark what you want. Okay, self-talking for amateur players is another very important. It's not the same when we are 5-all in the third, and many people say, "Oh, I cannot do this." No, 3 hours on court, playing and playing. The thinking way is going in a negative way, rather than now's my time. I'm gonna push. I'm gonna do this because I understand how to play. It's self-talking to close is very important.
Huge.
So this is massive, Fernando. We talk about mindset and what we say to ourselves all the time, and these habits that we get into of thinking and feeling on the tennis court, which we know becomes habitual. And so if you're watching this right now and you're struggling with sort of what Fernando has been mentioning about what you say to yourself and how that affects you on court, there is a way to change that. And it's a habit of thinking and feeling that these great players have adopted and that have really mastered, like a Djokovic. Fernando, I'd like to switch gears for a second, and we're almost out of time, but I'd love to get your take on what you said about closing out matches from a tactical perspective. Because if we are training these combinations of shots and sort of strategies, how would you approach if you're serving at 5-4 with a chance to close out a match? What can a player start to think about in terms of how they would approach that from a tactical perspective?
Of course, it's very important how you are well trained in that. That's why academies has to work any level of players to close matches. This is one of the key aspects in any academy. You are doing a project which is winning, a project which is teaching people to win matches, understanding what is happening on court. And I think 3 concepts that I can say. Firstly, be on the present, playing point by point. Firstly, don't think that you already won the match. You have to think at that moment, 5-4, point by point, because many times people are losing matches because they think that they win the match, but it's not happening yet. That's one thing. It's point by point, brick by brick, to create the wall. Secondly, if you are playing 5-4 in the third and your last 2 hours, you are learning the strongest ability of the opponent, and also the weaknesses, do your best, your best play. Don't be too creative. Think and do what you are doing, because you are 5-4 if you are 5-4 in the third and you are the leader serving, it means you did the break, and also try to do what you are doing to create something. Probably you can be created in one point if you want to do so. But first, the recommendation: do what you did in the last to build up your game. And the third point, it's breathe. Prepare yourself to believe in yourself. Even in any level, you have to talk with yourself. Say, now's the time. Go for it. Okay. Be courage. Be behaving like a warrior, like a gladiator, ready to close. Because if you are passing the ball, waiting for the mistake of the others, you are empowering the other, because you are showing that you have fear to close the match. That's why many times, sometimes the players are going 5-2 or 5-3, and they are not the ability to close the match. Why? Because they are overthinking, and secondly, the fearness is growing, and the courage and believing yourself part is going down, and you are waiting that the opponent is. Remember the final in 2019, I think Federer was 19, Federer against Djokovic. Federer was serving 2 times match point to the forehand of Djokovic, which is one of the best, or probably the best return on the history of tennis. Why? Because he was thinking more, probably, and this is a guessing, was thinking more to pass the responsibility to Djokovic rather to try to do something like open the serve, going wide, and then go to the net. But it's more be in charge of yourself. Okay.
I still have nightmares about that match because I was rooting for Federer the whole way, as much as I love Djokovic.
Sorry for remember that.
Thanks. Now I got to have another nightmare. Thank you, Fernando. This has been such an amazing conversation. And if you would just give us a little bit about sort of the mission of World Tennis Conference. I know you're putting together a pathway because your passion, aside from tennis, is to give juniors the best possible chance to become the best players that they can be. Tell us a little bit about World Tennis Conference and what you've built here, because it's amazing.
Well, the World Tennis Conference is a bridge to bring awareness about and knowledge about what it takes to be a high-performing coach, and also a high-performing program and high-performing people. My point is we need to, because talent, Ramon, is everywhere. We are losing in some way some players, which could be a very good player for the secret. Sometimes because you are not receiving the correct coaching concepts, and also we need to improve our system. The main purpose of the World Tennis Conference is to be a bridge between the top guys, which are working in the circuit, with people who are developing the future players of our sport. You can imagine we have 500,000 people working like a coach, and that's a lot of people that we can influence and inspire to keep learning, because learning is a never-ending task, and also that's the meaning of World Tennis Conference. Bring the top ones, be specific, like a big puzzle, and how many things you have to work with the players to develop in the best complete way. That's why this year we had the support of course, the ATP, WTA, TDI, many national federations, because from my point of view, we need together all change the paradigm how we are coaching our players.
Well, outstanding. Fernando, thank you so much for being with us today. Guys, if you're watching this on a replay and you have any questions that we didn't get to, and Fernando, you shared so much wisdom with us, leave them down in the comments. We'll be happy to be with you guys there and answer any questions that you have. I'm just super grateful for you, Fernando, for taking the time today. Mark, any last things before we sign off?
As ever, love your wisdom and love your passion. Thank you, Fernando, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. It's a privilege always to be with you and Ramon. And congratulations for this project, because one of the key aspects of our sport is to bring more fans to understand how we can play and we can be better players on court. Remember that you are a tennis player. It doesn't care the level. It doesn't care the ranking. If you are holding a racket, you are important for us.
Awesome.
What a
Guys,
way to
thank you
finish.
so much for thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow for another episode of Winning Wimbledon. In the meantime, have an amazing day, and we'll see you guys real soon. Bye.
Thanks, Fernando.
Thank you.